Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see everybody making it through the afternoon. We've been talking in the background. We've really been enjoying this. We're really happy that you guys have been a part of this Discover webinar that we're giving here, and we thank you for adding your time to this. I can't wait to get into this one. Haley Bowles is going to be uh, doing this particular session, and I just have to say, in all my years of listening to customers, I've heard some wonderful things about Haley in the field. Haley has a great understanding of our product, and she has been involved in just about everything from support to onboarding to reporting and analytics. And so today she's going to be going over order management and pricing. And I really can't say enough about her because if there's anybody in this company that really understands and knows the product top to bottom, it's Haley. So it's a real treat to have her today. Haley, the floor is yours.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you for the the glowing introduction, Clay. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to go through some things with you guys. So I just wanted to say welcome again to the Fastway Discover virtual conference, and we're glad to have you here. So again, I am Haley. I am one of the customer support specialists and also one of the reporting analytics experts. So chances are that we've probably talked on the phone before. Um, Today, I'm going to be going over some tips and tricks to elevate your pricing and order management within your Fastway web portal. Now, the product pricing and order setup is something that most of you are probably familiar with and probably do every day. So today, we're not going to necessarily look at the basics of it. So instead, we're going to look at a good number of some overlooked features, tricks, and some fail safes even that you may not know about that could improve your efficiency for any of your processes. So the chat is open for this meeting, and we have a Q&A feature up on the top right of your Teams window. So feel free to ask questions at any time, but I will wait until the very end of the presentation to go through and answer them. And this session is recorded. All of our sessions today are going to be recorded so you can review them later if you miss anything. And if you are looking for some more tips and tricks for managing your Fastway web portal after this is done, make sure to check out the recording of Megan's 10 Fastway features you should know about if you did not make it to the live session. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. So I don't have a PowerPoint for you today. I'm just going to dive straight into the web portal. So the first thing that we want to look at today is the pricing management. So I'm going to navigate up to our resources and the product and pricing page. And then we're going to start in the product setup. So this is probably already filled out for you all. You already have your global product list and your product location set up. So what we want to look at and focus on today is the pricing templates. If you've been around for a while, you will know that the pricing templates are a relatively new feature. Previously, any of the default pricing was controlled just on these product locations under 5 like pre-set up price levels. So those are now totally broken out into their own section. So on here, you can see that we already have more than 5 of the default price levels. So you can add in as many of these as you need to, just depending on your own internal pricing structures. It might be helpful to have a bunch of them so that you can more easily control how your default pricing is applied. To do that, you would just hit this Add Templates button and plug in a name on here. Another thing that you can do is rename any of these templates. So instead of just having them level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you can go through and actually name them. So when you are setting the defaults, you know exactly what you're setting it to. So you can see on ours, we have like a discount and a default and even a cash template. So I highly recommend, if nothing else, going through and renaming them for what they actually are, just so it's a little bit easier to tell. One of the other things that you can do now is remove price templates. So if you only have 1 or 2 and you don't need all 5 of them, you can remove any of them that aren't being used just to kind of clean up your product pricing page. So you don't have to sort through all these different location levels for specific products that aren't being used when you're setting up your pricing. So the next thing that I'm going to look at is back on our product pricing page. If we refresh this, again, you're probably familiar. This is just where you set your default pricing per specific location and template. But there is this proposed column on here. So say maybe at the end of the quarter, you're planning to enact a price change of some kind, and you have all of your prices kind of planned out. But if you want to go ahead and store those ahead of time, you can actually go through your product pricing in the web portal and set those up as proposed pricing. So if you click on the little pencil icon on any of your product location templates, you can actually edit this field. So we can add in a proposed pricing of, say, a 10-cent increase. So if we go ahead and just add these to a few of them, you can see that now they are just right next to our default price. Right now, that proposed pricing won't do anything. You can still add products to orders and they'll still use just your normal default price. But say now that we have all of these set up in here, the times come around that we actually want to apply these as our default pricing. We can click on this apply proposed pricing button up at the top. And this will basically just move everything that's set in that proposed column over to the price column. Now, this is only going to affect the default pricing. It won't affect any of the pricing that's set up on your orders, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. The other thing that might be a little overlooked on this product pricing page is this More button. So if you click on this, this gives you basically more defaults that you can set for each version of the product in here. So you can set a default product pricing description, and this is just the description field that you can set per order product when you're adding a product to an order. So say for, maybe our discount template, we have some sort of pricing description that we always put on the order for the number 4 stone. We can set that up on here, so that'll be automatically added when we add the product to the order. You can also set up default tax code groups, which Megan talked a little bit about in the previous section. So you can say that, maybe this specific pricing template always uses those tax code groups. We can assign that on here as a default, so we don't actually have to set it up when we're adding the product to the order. You can do the same thing for surcharges or adjustments. Both of these, depending on if you use price adjustments or not, can be really useful for things like maybe across the board fuel surcharges. So if maybe for every order you have a 5-cent surcharge, you could set this up in every single one of your default pricings so that you don't even have to worry about it when you're adding the product. It'll just automatically have that on there. The same goes for those adjustments. The other thing that you can set on here is a proposed surcharge and adjustment. So again, if you're going through and doing your proposed pricing and you want to maybe start adding those surcharges or adjustments, but not quite yet, you can stage them here with the proposed section. So on here, once you have all of your pricing set up and your price changes done, like I said, they don't actually affect any of your orders. This is just going to affect basically if you add a new product to an order, since it's just defaults. So if you wanted to apply your pricing in bulk, there is a button up here. And note this is for admin user roles only. So if you're not seeing it, it might be something you'd have to talk with your Fastway admin about to, see if they would be able to run it or if that's something that they would want to use. So this button up here, the open order price update, what this does is it essentially applies every single one of your default pricings to every single order that is active or inactive and has that open order checkbox checked. So this is a really powerful tool because it can do the mass pricing changes. So just be really careful if you do decide to run this. We do have some reports to go along with it that help you check and validate and make sure everything is changing that you want to change before you actually run this. On here, you can filter so it only applies to a specific region, location, and or customer. So if you just wanted to apply a price update to an ABC construction customer, you could do that. You can also specify what is being updated. So if you just want to update pricing, surcharges, or adjustments, or all three, you can control that with these checkboxes. And the last thing that I want to talk about a little bit that goes hand in hand with the open order price update is how defaults are applied for your tax codes and your price templates. So the price templates primarily you're going to assign these based on the customer. So if we go up to the resources and customer, I'm going to pull up that same ABC construction. So when you're adding a new customer or you're editing an existing customer, there is this section called the price template. And this is just where you assign which template is used for that specific customer. Additionally, when you are actually creating an order for that customer, that's going to control which pricing template is pulled in on here. So I'm going to start a really quick test order just so we can see that. So you can see once we set this customer to the ABC construction, this pricing template field changes to the default template. And if we switched it to say the cash customer, you can see that it automatically changes. Now, this can be overwritten on the order level. So if this customer did have a specific order that is maybe discounted, you can change the pricing template on here. Again, this just controls how the pricing defaults are pulled in when you're adding the products to the order. And the other thing that we wanted to look at is the defaults for tax codes. The tax code defaults are in reality pretty complicated to kind of set up, but it can help a lot if you get more into the nitty gritty of the tax code defaults to make sure that you're not having to change tax codes on products on orders every time you add an order. So you're probably familiar again on the customer record, there is a default tax code here. That is primarily what is going to be used when you add a product to an order. But there's also a default tax code that you can set on the specific product location. So on here, if you set a tax code on the specific product, this is always going to overwrite what is set on the customer. And I say always, but there is a certain setting that we're going to look at later that doesn't make it always. But so in this example, if we set this product to exempt on that ABC customer order, if we added this 10 stone product, it would pull in as exempt. So generally, we only recommend setting a tax code on the product if it's something that's always going to overwrite the customer. So if you have a product that is always tax exempt for some reason, that's the only time you should probably set a tax code on here. Now, under our portal settings, I'm going to completely swap this around. So there is a setting on here that's the default tax code by. So the default for the default is by the customer, but you can set it to default by the product. So what that would mean is every single one of your products would need a tax code set, and that's where your primary default would be. And then your customers, you generally wouldn't have a tax code set unless you want it to override what's set on the product. So that would be an instance where, maybe you had a customer that was always exempt, but otherwise all of your tax codes are based around the specific product. This is something that you can switch, but just keep in mind that you would have to go through and remove any defaults you didn't want from the customer record if you did change it to product or vice versa. Um, but that can, once you kind of get a handle and get control over the defaults for the tax codes, it can really help with setting up orders a little bit more quickly because you're not having to worry about going back and confirming that all the tax codes are correct on the products. And the last thing that we wanted to look at is our reports. So we have a few reports that can be helpful for managing your pricing. So the first one that we want to look at is under the orders category. And this is going to be the price update review report. Now, this is the report that goes hand in hand with the open order price update tool. You can see that it has the same filters as the actual tool on the product pricing page does. And when we run this, this is going to pull in every single active and inactive order that is marked as open, along with the specific products on that order. So this is the report that you want to run before you even think about using the open order price update tool, because this is going to be how you check to make sure that all the orders that you want to be updated are included and orders that you don't want to be updated are not included. So you can see here on this report, it shows the current order price, the current template default, and the proposed defaults. If you haven't applied your proposed pricing yet, you can use this to kind of review all three. If we scroll down, we can see that we do have a few products that would be affected right off the bat if we did run that open order price update tool. So we can see that for this one, the price would go down and it's indicated in that red color. And then for some of them, the price would increase, which is indicated by the green. So this is really the best tool for kind of getting a handle of what's going on if you actually ran the tool. The next report that we want to take a look at is the product pricing variation. Now, this report is going to function honestly pretty similarly to the price update review, except for you're actually able to set which types of orders you want to pull in if you want to see open or not open or all the different statuses. So when we run this, we can again see the current order price as well as the current template default price. And we can see the pricing variation between the two if the order price is higher or lower than the default. So this might be something that you would run in general to see if maybe, there's a certain order that has a really big variation that maybe their default pricing needs to be updated. The next report that I just want to quickly look at is under the resources tab. And this is just the product pricing template listing report. This report is just going to give you basically a flattened out view of all of your product pricing templates and the defaults that are set on your products. So if you wanted to, print this out to kind of review and mark it up or export it to Excel, this could be really helpful for um, seeing all at one time what everything is set to, as well as anything under that More button. You can see that right in line with the current default price. And the last report that we want to quickly look at is the proposed product pricing review. This is going to be similar to the last one, except for this is going to show our proposed pricing. So this would be used to review your current default versus your proposed pricings. So you can use this once you have gone through and set all your proposed pricing to double check everything and make sure that everything is set correctly. So that's the last thing that I had for you guys for the price management section. If you had any questions that came up while we were going through everything, feel free to go ahead and add them in the Q&A section now. We'll still wait till the very end to answer any of those questions, but go ahead and submit any if you did think of anything. With that, I'm going to go ahead and move over to the order management section. And I'm going to pull up our orders table. So the very first thing that we want to look at is our order status and the open order checkbox. So I'm going to open up this ABC order that we added earlier. So up at the very top, we have our order status. So right now this is set to active. The active order status just means that this is available for ticketing. And additionally, this order would be affected by the open order price update tool if we have this checked. The next status is inactive. Inactive orders aren't available for ticketing, but they would still be affected by the open order price update. And the closed orders are also not available for ticketing, but they wouldn't be affected by the price update tool. Now, functionally, the inactive and closed work the same in regards to ticketing. So generally, we recommend that maybe use the inactive status if it's an order that isn't being used currently and you don't want it in your active order list, but it could be maybe reopened again. And then the closed status, I would recommend using for orders that probably are never going to be ticketed on again. You can always go back and reactivate orders as well if you need to, regardless of which status you set it to. So, if you close an order, it's not closed forever if it needs to be reopened. And the other one is this open order checkbox. The open order checkbox doesn't really affect if the order is available for ticketing at all. It primarily just means that the order is open for price updates or that the order uses whatever the current defaults are and there isn't any special pricing. The open order checkbox obviously would apply to the open order price update tool. If this is checked, the order would be affected by that. If not, it would be skipped over in the open order price update. But one of the other features that's available with open orders is the ability to add products on the fly while ticketing to the order, which we'll look at in a little bit. So the next thing that we want to look at is maybe you have quite a few orders. Probably you have quite a few orders in your web portal, and some of them, if you've been around for a while, might still be active even though they haven't been ticketed on in, many years. So we do have a tool that allows you to do a bulk status update of all of your orders. So under the orders tab, if we just go to status update, it'll pull up this page. So the first thing on here is a last haul date filter. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to January 1 of 2021. So that just means that this is going to pull in everything that hasn't had a ticket since basically 2020 or earlier. I'm also going to check the include open orders. And then if you hit refresh, it'll load in the table. Now, one thing to note, you do want to be a little bit careful on the screen because the refresh and save button are pretty close to one another. The save button won't actually update any orders until you have them checked. But just as a general rule of thumb, I would recommend being careful on here so that you don't accidentally inactivate orders before you intend to run this. On here, once you have your orders pulled in, you can select them all with this button, or you can check or uncheck the orders that you want to be inactivated or closed. Once you have your selection done, this set selected to setting up on the top right allows you to choose if you want to inactivate them or close them. This tool won't allow you to reactivate orders in bulk. It only is for inactivating or closing them out. So once you have that set, you can just hit save and it would bulk inactivate these 34 plus or minus 3 orders that we have pulled in on here. So I highly recommend pulling this up and running it every once in a while just to make sure that you don't have anything hanging out that is really old and probably won't be used anymore. Another thing to note on here is that since this tool functions based on the last haul date, this is only going to pull in orders that actually have been ticketed on at some point. So if we wanted to look at our orders that have never been ticketed on, we can go back to our orders table. On here, we have a last haul date column, which we can sort on. But maybe we want to, get a count of all of our orders that don't have any tickets down on the bottom right. To do that, we can use these little filter funnels. The filter funnels are on most of the headers across the web portal. For this specific one, if I click on the drop down, I can set this to be is null. So null basically just means blank. Um, so if we set this to is null, this is only going to show us orders where the last haul date is blank. So we can see that we have 214 orders that have never been ticketed on before. At this point, you would have to manually go in and edit the orders and inactivate them one by one. But it would be pretty easy because you can go in here and set the status, save, and then close, and it will remember the filter and your sorting so that you can just hop back right into the next one. So I'm going to pull back up our ABC order, and we are going to take a look at some of the order product functions within the specific order. So one thing that I mentioned with the open order checkbox is the ability to add products to your order on the fly. So this is a more recent update. Previously, if you had an order that didn't have any products on it, you wouldn't be able to ticket on this at all. But now that we have that open order box checked, if we go into the settings of our ticketing application and go into ticket, there's a new setting on here that says allow add products to open order. If you have this set to yes, your desktop ticketing application will pull in orders that are marked as open but don't have any products. And that is because you will be able to add products to that order on the fly. So if I go in and start my ticket, and let me make sure that I have synced, and I'm going to see if we can find our ABC order in here. And you'll have to forgive me, I'm not used to the demo web portal. So let's try. Well, we might have to pull up a different one that we know is already working. So I'm going to pull up this order here. This is just a different open order that we have in here. So if we go to select our product, see, I thought I had one. Here it is. Okay, so now that we have an open order selected, we go to select our product. We'll see that there is a new button down here at the bottom in blue that says add product from template. On here, say I didn't find the product that I actually want to ticket for on this order, but we know that it's an open order that, the customer can come in and get any product that they need to at the standard pricing. We can select this add product from template button. And let's say we want to add this concrete sand. So now we have that in our list and we can go ahead and run a ticket for it. So now if we go back and we'll have to pull up that 2184 order, we can see that the concrete sand product is now newly added to this order. And we can, if we need to, go in and make any edits. So if we did need to change the unit price to be different from the default, we could do that. But since we have our pricing templates set up, it's just going to use whatever the default is for that product. One of the other things that has kind of changed recently with that same update is the removal of the add all products button. We found that on average, when the add all products button was used, a high percentage of the products were never ticketed on. So that's why, kind of one of the reasons behind the add products on the fly option. So instead of just creating an open order that has every single product added from the get-go, the operator can just add products as they need them. We do still have the add multiple products option. On here, you could go through and check every product if you really wanted to, but generally we would recommend just turning on the add products from the open order instead. With this, you can still add multiple products, so we can add all four of these at once if we need to. And that gives you a little bit more flexibility on the products that you want to add, so you can do multiple instead of just adding every single one. One of the other things that we wanted to look at on here is actually setting up these haul zones that Megan showed you earlier. You'll notice that this is an order that already has haul zones enabled. So if we go back to our ABC order, we'll see that this use haul zones option on here is set to no. So if we change this and turn on use haul zones, now when we add a product to an order, you'll see that the freight, hauler pay, and freight type all are controlled by that haul zone instead of being set on the order. So when you go to actually create the ticket, there is a new field on here that pops up that says haul zone. And this is where you actually assign the haul zone that you want to use to the ticket instead of to the specific product. The other thing that I wanted to look at is our tax code groups. So if you did set up some tax code groups, you would actually enable them on the specific order product. And again, you can set the defaults for those if you need to. So on here, I can say that I want to use the Tennessee taxes tax code group. And you can also use the tax code that would normally control which tax codes used for the product as the default. So when I go back and sync my application, and let's find our product. So that is the special product. Let's see, I might not have our tax code groups turned on in here. Well, I'm not gonna have you guys go through me looking at the settings. So basically that's all you would have to do to actually enable them, is you would just wanna set them up on the specific product. And once they're set up on there, you would be able to select them from the ticketing screen. The next thing that I wanna look at on here is order quantities and active and expiration dates. So you can use order quantities and the active and expiration dates to control when a product is available. So if you had an instance where maybe this product had a special price for a week, you could use the active and expiration dates to kind of stage that out. So you could set your product to expire over the weekend. And then you can add a second version of the exact same product that would become available on the same day that the discounted version expires. That allows for a seamless transition between the two different versions of the pricings for the operator. One of the other things that you can set on here is an order quantity. So on here, maybe your special discount is only for 2 loads. So you could set an order quantity on here. And then with the setting on the desktop ticketing application, you can have the app actually restrict ticketing over that set quantity. So with this, the operator would only be able to create 2 tickets before they get an error that says that this product is at the quantity and it's not available for ticketing anymore. And the last thing on here that I want to look at briefly is this delete all products button. If maybe you have been around for a while and you did use the add all products button, you can also use the delete all products button. Since our system works on associations, if you have any products that have been ticketed on before at all that are on your order, you won't be able to delete them. So you can use this to basically bulk remove any unused products from your order. So if we run this, we can see that 4 products were deleted, but 4 were left because those are the ones that we've created tickets on. So that might be something that would be a good idea to go through and maybe remove excess products from your orders if you're experiencing long sync times on the actual order product section of the sync on the app. And the last thing I want to do is look at just a few reports that can be helpful for order management. So on our reports page under the orders category, the first one that I want to look at is our order listing. So on here, there are quite a few filters that we can use to change the way that this report runs. So right now, I just have 2 orders pulled up. This report is based on the last ticket date or the last haul date. So it will filter it out based on that date that you set. There is an option for this to show orders that don't have any tickets. So if you wanted to see all of the orders that have tickets for the last month and also have never been ticketed on, you can check that. You can also set this last haul date to tomorrow. What happens if you set that to tomorrow and have the show orders with no tickets checked is that you'll end up getting a report that only shows you orders that have never been ticketed on. And you can also change this report to see the specific orders and products. So this can be useful if you wanted to review your order and product setup just kind of in bulk without having to go into each order. The other report that we want to look at is our order quantity progress report. This is used hand in hand with the order quantity that's set on your specific order and product. So if I set my date range back a little bit and run this, this is going to show me all of the orders and products that have a quantity set. So on here, we can see the set quantity, the ticketed units and loads, the remaining quantity, and the percent that's delivered. So down at the bottom, there are 2 products that have been 100% delivered, and we can see that indicated by the red box. I would recommend if you do use quantities that you run this report every once in a while, just to make sure that you don't have any orders out there that are 100% delivered and just need to be closed out. So that is the last thing that I had to show for you guys today for orders and pricing management. If you have any questions, feel free to add them in the Q&A section and we can answer them now.
Oh, James gave you a thank you there, Haley.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that you guys joined us today. If you do have any questions that you think of later, you can always call our support line and talk to me or Garrett or Steven. And we'll be happy to help you out. I'm sure that most of you guys talk to us, so you're probably aware. But you can just email us at the support@tackinsight.com, or our main number is the 865-219-2980. And as always, we will be happy to go through and help you out, okay?
Awesome. All right, folks. Well, our final webinar is going to be here in about 20 minutes. That's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. That last one is going to be on reporting and analytics. We've got a lot of new features that cover kind of some of the new custom reporting features we've released. They're very exciting. Basically, we're going to teach you guys how to generate your own reports. So that's going to be a really killer presentation. Eric Wilhite is going to take that one. Again, that's going to be in about 20 minutes here at 3 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to go ahead and break and end this presentation. Once again, all of these are recorded, so we will be sending these out to all of you who registered for this digital conference. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.